Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Marcus from TCG Discussions, coming in with my first place Reiju deck today. I have no idea where I put my Winter Law and the pack that was full of rares in it, but yeah. I want to profile this for you guys for a couple reasons. First is I think this is an S tier deck. I think that she is literally like Law on steroids. Like, Law just wishes that he was this good. Like, in some ways, but like Law also removed bodies. So when like Law does what he did that, and he removed something. But his or her pressure is just insane. What her advantage is definitely drawing more, consistently seeing your game plan through the stage, the event. Queen is so much more impactful. Like, draw 3, pitch 1's insane. So there's just a lot. She just does so much. The fact that you can open up 14 Dawn worth of play on your second turn is disgusting. Going first or second. Matchups, I got a buy in round 1, played Black Yellow Luffy in round 2, in round 3 played Gecko, and won both of them pretty handily. Black Yellow Luffy had a no-win out. I had Pudding from the very beginning of the game. And there were some misplays, I think, but still, it's really easy for her to just pressure your hand, and then pressure your life, and then just rip your hand with Pudding, especially when you open up well early. And against Gecko, I saw Porsche, Ichiji, Porsche, Reiju, Ichiji, and then Reiju, and like, that's just gross. Like that is a line that is just truly filthy among all things. And he just doesn't win that game. Like, you just open up too well. So since this might be a deck that not a lot of people know about, I'll do some exposition, but I'll make it brief. I won't explain too many tech choices, just some things that might be a little bit out of the norm. So Reiju, your turn once per turn, mandatory. When a Dawn deck on your field is returned to your Dawn deck, you draw a card. Absolutely busted effect. It's like, just imagine draw 1 tacked onto every Dawn minus effect once per turn, and that's what she's doing, right? So we've got our Germa field spell. You have to play 4 of this. I've seen some people playing 3. I just think if you're wanting to run 3 of that, you're running to be pretty inconsistent. And there's ways to be consistent, and there's ways to be inconsistent with the consistency of this deck, because it is a hyper consistent deck. But this is a card that, like, if you see it turn 1 and you have the right hand, you are literally going to just probably win the game on the spot. So it's definitely something you should be playing 4 of. Sorry, didn't mean to bump the camera there. We play 1 Germa event. Decided to play this just to give us like that extra an extra turn 1 play, but 2, give us the ability to dig through our deck for exactly what we're looking for. So, but we don't want too many of these. Like, if I get this in life, it's awful. Like, it's just terrible, and I just don't want too many of these. I don't want my top 3 searches with my stage to be full of those. So, yeah. And then moving on to the bodies, we play 4 Reiju, 4 Ichiji, and 2 Niji. This is my ratio. I just played the 10 babies. This deck reminds me a lot of Dragon Rulers. Kind of shoutouts to Pain Flanco, Flacco, whatever his name is, but I've been watching a lot of his channel lately. And he's right. This is actually what I said back when this deck came out. It reminded me a lot of Dragon Rulers, because you just get to draw a lot of cards. That's like the super rejuve aspect. And you have these babies that go into the adults, and you pull the adults from the trash or your hand, which is gross. But Dragon Rulers are a little bit more broken, because like the babies could pull them out of the deck. If they could do that, that would be just absolutely snap in half. But this goes into 4, draw 2, goes into 7, minus 2,000, minus 1, and then this is KO 2 or less, or bounce 4 or less. So, all for their non minuses. And then we play for the main Spice engine, Porsche. Everybody is running this right now in Reiju, and I think they're correct. Playing two bodies out is what makes this like almost worse than Law. The problem with Law was that like Law could lose to just not saying Reiju, but you have inherent draw even for this card's effect built into the leader, which is just crazy to me. She can search herself. She searches for a Foxy Pirate, top 5 on a Dawn minus. And so for 3 Dawn, you can just do this. And if you have the Ichiji combo, like if you like when turn 1 stage, put 7 drop, search 4 drop, and add portion hand, like, oh my god, like that is just broken. It is literally one of the strongest starts in the entire game. And the fact that she can play basically any of these, like, is crazy, including her. Like, a lot of people sleep on the fact that she can play out Reiju. And Reiju just draws you like a bunch of cards like off the rip while putting 2 5Ks on the board. Like that's literally just as good. Like it's 2 more cards. If you opened up Field Spell, your hand's a little bit low. So like the portion of mini Reiju and to adult Reiju is literally pretty much just as strong as a start as like Ichiji without the 7K rush, obviously. But like but the fact that Ichiji exists with this card is absolutely snapped. Like I almost think that Bandai needs to do something either to this card and just like they're never gonna errata a card in this game. I just like resigned myself to that. But they should like errata this to just be a Foxy Pirate only thing. Like she should not be getting 14 Dawn worth of bodies in her freaking second turn going first. Like that just shouldn't be possible. And for 3 Dawn, like for 3 Dawn, you just get like this, the 4 drop and the 7, you get 5/7 rush to start. Like it's just broken. Speaking of the adults, we got 4 Ichiji, 4 Reiju, and the 2 Niji, just to complement everything correctly. Yeah, it's pretty good, to say the least. Honestly, the Niji, like, is a little bit more broken than I think people give it credit for. Like, when you bounce Black's Rebecca or Borsalino back to their hand, it's really strong. And the Mirror, his ability to pop the chopper blocker is really good. So he just has, like, a lot of, like, versatility and utility that, like, a lot of people don't probably give him the most credit for. And they usually see it mostly off Judge, but I've had some, like, early game Nijis that are just, like, absolutely backbreaking. Like, if I, like, play, like, sometimes what I'll do is, like, if I have, like, adult in hand and there's, like, nothing to play, right? Like, they have to play something in order for, like, the Niji to be good. I'll put the baby on the board and pass, and then, like, next turn, since I didn't Dawn minus, I'll go to 5. So you can still Porsche and play something else, and then still use the Niji bounce, which is really good. And so that's if you go first. If you go second, you'll be at 6, and it's like even more broken because you could just raw Ichiji if you needed to. You don't need Porsche to do it. But point is that when it comes to this card, I think it's kind of like underrated and like what he does. And he's not just good off a Judge play either. So, but for her of the draw 2, the card that probably just should have been banned, like. I think if this card was banned, honestly, like, Law could probably still exist. It's the fact that she exists and he just gets to draw 2. It's, like, kind of broken, but in this deck, it's even worse. And this card is heinous. Like, if this deck ever becomes, like, the best deck in the game, I don't think it is. I think it's one of the top 3 best decks in the game, but if this deck becomes the best deck in the game, they're going to have to look at this card. Like, you shouldn't, like, even in Ichiji turn 2 into this card is broken. Like, before people were playing the Porsche, if they could just Ichiji you every turn, you just lose the game. Like, it just doesn't even matter that the Porsche is there. She's just, like, icing on the cake. So, yeah. That is our adult lineup. And then, moving on to the rest of the Foxy engine, we play the 4 Tonatoni Chopper, and then the 4 Gina. She's literally a 2K. Don't even worry about it. Chopper, though, this guy is kind of good. He has a lot of like good spots, I feel, when you play him in any matchup. But his on-play effects is the ability, if you have like equal to or less Dawn than your opponent, to like ramp it on back, which is really helpful for like setting him up, right? Or just playing it in general to get more Dawn when you have a big board to like kind of push. So, super good. Then we have for Vinsmoke Sora. It's the only Vinsmoke 2K that I play. I don't play the Blue Sanji. I think that's copium for a whole host of reasons. Like, if you're playing Sanji over Gian, you're just wanting to lose Nanami, even though you think that, like, you're good in Nanami, because, like, you play poor Shichiji. You're really not, because, like, 7 isn't... 7, you can get out of a 7 super easy, and you have low Dawn, so your allocation to 9 is a little bit harder than you think. And so, like, yeah, but I don't play Vinsmoke Sanji. I play Gian in its place. You'll see that in a sec. But Sora is like a mandatory 4-of just so you can fetch cards out of your trash that you need to replay cards. And then simultaneously, she lowers the hand size to make like 4-drop Reiju play a lot stronger. Next, probably a point of contention for people, but I play 4 Queen. Queen's a card that I feel like it has to be at 4 in the deck. It's a little bit difficult for me to adjust, like justify otherwise him not being at 4. His effect is way too good, and at 5 Dawn, like playing this card is such a massive tempo value, like you just like really do not understand. So I'll paint a picture. If you go 2nd and you get Porsche HG, you're at 3. Next turn you go to 5. If you at 5 Dawn play this card with Porsche HG, and you get to swing 5/5/7 and then draw 3 automatically while putting this 6/5/6 blocker on, your opponent, you're then going into 6 Dawn, and your opponent is in like a horrible position. Like, number one, they will never be able to clear a board or go at life with like what would it be, like 5 Dawn, going into 5 Dawn. And whatever pressure they think that they have, they can, even if it's just at the Porsche, to like attempt to clear the body without like a destruction effect or a removal effect. It's useless. Like Queen in that position is just so strong. Like, for like a whole host of reasons, right? You draw 3 cards, you pitch 1, okay? If you pitch a 7-drop and draw 4, and you have another Porsche in your hand, the following turn of that at 6 is literally a 6/7/7/7 while playing 2 bodies, or a 5/7/7/7 if you want to swing with Queen. Like, they just lose. Like, I don't know what to tell you. At 5 Dawn, there are very, 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 very few decks that could handle this card coming down behind a Porsche Ichiji that just don't automatically lose. And then if the follow-up to that is more Porsche Ichiji, the game is literally cemented on the spot. It doesn't matter if it's Black Yellow Luffy. It does not matter who it is. They are dead. They'd be going into literally 7 Dawn. Like, even Black Yellow Luffy would be going to 7 Dawn with a whole bunch of cards that could easily get to 9. Just 3 and 2/2 on Ichiji, going to 8 on the following turn. And it's like no problem. Like, their hand's getting taxed out of existence. So him being a 5/6 blocker is just really good. To me, I think you have to play him at 4. A lot of people play him at 3 or 2. I saw some list playing 1. I was like, oh god. I don't know. It just feels to me like you don't want to draw cards. Next we play 2 Pudding and 2 Gian. If you feel that your matchup into Nami is not as relevant, you can play less Gian and more Pudding. I think you have to at least play 1. And this is a competitive list, guys. I don't want to bring you some like half like baked nonsense. But Gian is like the ultimate Nami killer. If that matchup was not already plus for you by how aggressive you can be, if like you see the right cards, these two cards just literally put it over the top. Putting is obviously so good right now. There's so many greedy decks that just want to have high hand size. You have Anel, you have Black Yellow Luffy, even sometimes Bonnie gets a little bit greedy and getting up there in hand size. You can punch black a little bit, then get 7, 8, 9 cards. Give them a good old -3, and then just swing out with like 5, 6, 7 ETG. It's pretty good. So, yeah, and then Gion is like the other 2K that I feel is necessary. I think that if you're going to a tournament or your locals has Nami, you are a partially blue leader, why not play this card as the other 2K? Like, a lot of people are like, Vinsmoke Sanji promo, it's searchable, play it. And it's like, you're trading a searchable 2K for a card that drastically increases your winning chances against a deck that's going to beat you no matter what you do anyway. So I just think that, like, she's just like the better option. And so, you know, just don't get caught without it. And the last card we play one Vinsmoke Judge. Judge is kind of good and kind of bad. So let me explain two things. If you hate Gecko Moria, you should want this card banned. Excuse me, it's my voice cracks. You should want this card banned. This card is incredibly more heinous than Gecko Moria ever was. I'm sorry. Like, and the only reason, like, we didn't know that this card was, like, more broken than Gecko is because, like, this deck was oppressed by law. But I've done the math for the record. Like, if you played, like, the full Vinsmoke engine with, like, Yonji as well, I think the math pans out that for 8 Dawn, you play out something like 39 Dawn worth of cards to the board, getting a 4/6 blocker. You drew 3 cards. You have a 7 rusher, a 7K rusher, and you bounced a card or popped a card, right? While also establishing an 8/8. That has the effect for a Dawn minus, which will just automatically like draw you another card every turn you won to rest one of your opponent's Dawn cards with Judge. So it's like, this card is dumb. But why played it 1? We played it 1 because the Porsche ETG line sacks a lot of Dawn. And so sometimes this card is just not really achievable in our game. Like, we want to be able to play him, but we don't want to see him multiple times in the game. Like, you're never going to play more than one Judge. There's just times where, like, if you see it, you're okay if you get to it. But if you don't, it's not like this card. This card is not like Gecko, in the sense that, like, it's mandatory for you to win. You want to know what your win condition is? It's this card. Like, this guy right here is the entire win condition of the deck. This guy is an alternate way to get into him if you have a lot of Dawn. But the games where you have, like, 8 Dawn, your deck is probably running slow. So, like, which against certain matchups like Bonnie can be kind of problematic. But he is a good power play swing. He plays a lot of cards to the board, so he's definitely justified. It's our return for the different dimension for the Dragon Ruler reference. So we play him at 1. I don't think that the card's necessary. I know a lot of lists play him at 2. I was playing him at 2, and I just like found it to be like mad bricky. And before anybody comments in the comment section, no, it is not, because I do not have a second ult. I do have it. I have this entire deck ulted. The only thing that I don't have ulted, I think, are like pre-release stamps of all the Foxy cards and all the Vinsmoke cards. I'm not going that hard in the paint on the deck. I do like the ult arts of the regular cards, so it's pretty sick. But yeah, another locals win. It's been actually kind of a hot minute since I've been able to give you guys first place deck profiles and reports, but all I have to say, this deck is insane. She does have like her bad matchups, like Bonnie is a little bit of a problem. You can, if you see the right cards, just beat an L's face in, so that doesn't really matter. My friend, who I trust pretty well with a lot of his knowledge in the game, tells me that Gecko is like winning into Reiju. I'm not sure. Not so sure about that. Every time I play Gecko into her, I feel like that Gecko is just barely winning or outright losing all the time. So I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, you beat Black Yellow Luffy pretty good. Lucci can be problematic. Like if they're playing the finger pistol at any tantamount amount of good high numbers, that matchup is pretty bad. They will Lucci can demand that you have 4-drop EGG every turn. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad day. And then especially if the game goes late. The game goes late, bro, he's blowing up the whole board. And then thinking about other meta matchups, she's obviously okay to enter herself. Pudding doesn't do anything, so don't even bother doing it. And then Red Purple Luffy. Red Purple Luffy, it decimates this deck. I've played probably 15 games against Reiju with Red Purple Luffy, and not one of them has gotten close. And each time I'm finding new ways that don't involve that. The only bad game I ever had, I drew a lot of shanks and I still won the game. But just every line possible in Reiju, it just doesn't matter. It literally just doesn't matter. He ramps too quickly. Once he gets to 7-cost Kid or Newgate, he's just pretty untouchable. And if he gets 2 or 3 turns of doing that while establishing 10k, you drawing 3 cards a turn doesn't matter, because one 10k swing takes at least 3 cards to get out of, and 3 if it's 2-2-1 to match. So you're just going to end up crumbling. And if there's a 7-8 there and a 10, and then he's 9k with another 10 that just got played, and the follow-up from that turn is gear 5, you've lost. He's just winning. So it's the only matchup that I know for sure Reiju just can't win. Black Yellow Luffy's supposed to kind of be the same way, but he's too slow at doing it. Requires a lot of cards in hand, and Pudding can just absolutely decimate him off the face of the earth. Whereas you can't really do that with Red Purple Luffy. His hand size is relatively low. Plays a lot of cards, counters out early so he can get to the big bodies, and then once he gets to the big bodies, it doesn't even matter really anymore that you put in his hand. You could literally just fix it if it's full of bricks, or give him more broken cards. So it's crazy. So, but yeah, without rambling anymore about the matchups, I think that she is a severe meta contender. She's hyper fast and really good. If you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player, you're going to love this deck. If you like drawing cards, you'll love this deck. If you're looking for a good deck that feels like Red Purple Law, but does things a little bit differently, I think this is the deck for you. And I hope you guys enjoy this deck profile. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have ratio differences or any tech that you're playing that you don't see in here, or things that you like. And I will see you guys next time. This is Marcus from TCG Discussions signing off. Laters.